as soon as modern citizens hear the word exorcism, images from Hollywood horror movies naturally flood their memories. The cultural chasm between the 1st and 21st century yams especially wide when we touch on the question of exorcism. The idea that evil spirits could not only inflict suffering on people from without, demonic obsession, but could even invade and take over their bodies, demonic possession, was widespread in ancient cultures. However disconcerting it may appear to modern sensibilities, it is fairly certain that Jesus was, amongst other things, a 1st century Jewish exorcist, and probably won not a little of his fame and following by practicing exorcisms. Perhaps in no other aspect of Jesus' ministry does his distance from modern Western culture and scientific technology loom so large, and the facile program of making the historical Jesus instantly relevant to present-day women and men seems so ill-conceived. Yet, there is a curiosity about spirits and evil that pervades even into the lives of modern folk. I worked in Rwanda in 1994 during the genocide. I have read accounts, but much more disturbingly and impactfully, I have listened to the personal accounts of participants in the Rwandan massacres and how they describe the chilling sense they experience of a shadow of evil descending upon them, compelling them to go forth and kill neighbours who were from a different tribe. Much closer to home, during the decade and a half that I ministered in Dublin, one of the most common call-out calls that I used to receive was to pray in homes where families had experienced a sinister sense in their houses that made them profoundly uncomfortable. For a while, I even earned the reputation of being the best ghostbuster in Dublin 10. The actor Anthony Hopkins once remarked, "I was hell-bent on destruction. It was like being possessed by a demon." The renowned John Lennon once wrote, "Songwriting is about getting the demon out of me. It is like being possessed." It seems every generation finds a way to find meaning in the words hell, demon, and being possessed. The modern mind can approach the gospel exorcisms with greater sympathy if one remembers that Jesus no doubt saw them as part of his overall ministry of healing and liberating the people of Israel from the illnesses and other physical and spiritual evils that beset them. Granted the primitive state of medical knowledge in the 1st century Mediterranean world, mental illnesses, psychosomatic diseases, and such afflictions as epilepsy were often attributed to demonic possession. If Jesus saw himself called to battle against these evils and ailments, which diminished the lives of his fellow Israelites, it was quite natural for him, as a 1st century Jew, to understand this specific dimension of his ministry in terms of exorcism. All of this simply underscores the obvious, Jesus was a man and a Jew of his time. What made Jesus unusual, if not unique, was not simply his role as an exorcist, but rather his integration of the role of exorcist, moral teacher, gatherer of disciples, and eschatological prophet, all into one person. Mark tells us that Jesus entered the synagogue in Capernaum. The chief rabbi of Great Britain, Jonathan Sacks, who died in November just past, was a highly respected spiritual giant. In trying to understand both the 1994 genocide in Rwanda and the Holocaust from a Jewish perspective, he described Judaism as a language of holy words rather than holy people or holy places. Sacks explains the apparent absence of God by delicately arguing God was in the word, do not kill. Sacks argues that words are how we communicate our deepest feelings to those we love. And they are also, God forbid, how we bring unbearable horror to those we do not love. The Tutsis in Rwanda were called cockroaches. Rabbi Sacks succinctly argues that of the 6,000 languages spoken today, only one is truly universal, the language of tears. Sacks' book, Not in God's Name, argues strikingly, human beings have both a propensity for altruism and a propensity for violence and evil. They are both born at the same time. They derive from the same source, which is that we, in order to survive, both cooperate and compete. We are altruistic towards the members of our group, and that makes us both angels and demons at the same time. Angels to the guys like us, and demons to the guys not like us. Jonathan Sacks is convinced that God is in the words. He argues passionately that we encounter God in the stranger. The people in the synagogue were stunned at the words that flowed from Jesus' mouth. Be quiet, come out of him. The crowd were astounded at how Jesus, through words alone, helped the labeled and shunned stranger to belong. Best teachers teach from the heart and not from the book. Presbyterian theologian Karl Buchner advises Christians that people may forget what you said, but they will not forget how you made them feel. Mark portrays Jesus as having impact on those who gathered to listen. He is a teacher with authority, a preacher who astounds with his words. Abraham Lincoln once remarked that character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. Jesus' reputation spread. Mark's gospel is very theocentric. It is a God story, and a very Jewish one at that. Mark is a book of secrets, of veils, of mysteries. Today, Mark is telling us that Jesus is the real thing. Like the tree, Jesus is full of character. Amen.